Hi, this is Wendy. Recently, I took a course in CPD about the update on the EC ruling, and I will just want to give an opinion because when people talk about HDBs and ECs, right, they often focus on the success stories and the windfall gains. But I think it's equally important to understand the limitations and opportunity costs that many buyers overlook. Okay. First, let's talk about grants and subsidies. Many people feel encouraged because they receive grants from the government. However, some grants have remained largely unchanged for many years. For example, a $30,000 grant today does not have the same buying power it had 10 or 15 years ago. Property prices have risen significantly. Construction costs have increased, and inflation has eroded the value of these subsidies. While the grant helps, it is not necessarily keeping pace with the market. That's one. Second, resale levies can be substantial. Many buyers are surprised to discover that when upgrading from certain subsidized housing, they may need to pay a resale levy. In some cases, this amount can be extremely significant. It can be a few $100,000. Essentially, before moving on to the next subsidized property, part of the gains must be returned to the government with interest. This reduces the actual profit available for wealth accumulation and reinvestment. Thirdly, let's consider the issue of time. A typical BTO project can take around 5 years to be completed. After that, owners must fulfill a 5-year minimum occupation period MOP before they can sell. If they move on to an EC, there may be another waiting period before they can realize the full value of the asset. In that case, 10 years, right? So if about 15 years is gone, which is equivalent to 2 to 3 cycles, property market cycles. In practical terms, you could be spending 10 to 15 years before completing a single property cycle for HDB, yeah, and EC. Over a span of 25 years, that may only allow you to complete two major housing upgrades. During the same period, private property investors may have gone through multiple market cycles and captured opportunities that were simply unavailable to those locked into longer holding periods, right? Think about it. So, fourthly, we must remember that HDBs are leasehold assets. Whether it's new flat or an older resale flat, the lease is ultimately 99 years. At the end of the lease, the property returns to the state. This is fundamentally different from certain private properties where ownership can potentially be preserved for future generations as a legacy or inheritance. Okay. Now let's address a very popular belief. Many people say Singaporeans can achieve two major windfalls in life, first from a BTO and then from an EC. Fair enough. I understand the argument, but I respectfully disagree. Let's assume someone successfully maximizes both opportunities and eventually accumulate around $2 million in gains over 20 to 25 years. The question is, what can $2 million buy in the private property market at that point in time? By then, many owners are already approaching their late 40s or even 50s. Financing becomes more challenging. Loan tenures become shorter. Monthly installments become higher, and borrowing capacity is reduced. The ability to leverage effectively is no longer the same as when they were younger. In other words, while the gains may look impressive on paper, the timing matters. 25 years is a long time. That period represents 2 or even 3 full property cycles. Opportunity cost is real. Finally, let's talk about older resale HDBs. Some people assume that buying a 30-year HDB is a bargain. 30-year-old HDB is a bargain, yeah. However, many older resale flats today are still expensive because buyers are paying for location and immediate availability. Yet at the same time, the remaining lease is getting shorter. Lease buyback, those kind of schemes is not worth it. okay, when we do some calculations. As a, re as a result, buyers may be paying a relatively high price for an asset with a declining lease term, while also facing future financing and resale challenges. Yeah. So my point is not that HDB or EC are bad investments. They have helped many Singaporeans build wealth and own homes. But before making a decision, we should look beyond the headline profits and consider the hidden costs, the time commitment, the lease decay, the financing limitations, and most importantly, the opportunity cost of spending decades within a heavily regulated housing pathway. The question is not simply how much profit can I make. The more important question is how long did it take to make that profit and what opportunities did I miss along the way? Okay. So there are other things that you need to look into. Like I know some friends that actually uh going to marry and move on to the BTO, and then they have to forfeit the deposit because halfway plans change. In the end, they didn't get married and all that. So that's another time wasters and opportunity cost loss. On top of that, private property allow uh, one name to one property. So effectively, if husband and wife, they can actually buy one property each at the current price, which um, which lock in the price for now rather than later. Whereas HDB, you must have two names in one HDB, right? So effectively, it will lock in your loan. Uh, you can't borrow as much or additional property. The cost is a lot higher. Yeah, that's another hurdle that we need to cross. So a lot of these things. I mean, do you're interested to chat about this more, we can have a coffee and let's discuss alternatively what we can do to maximize your individual case scenario, how we can do a case study on how to better the situation. Yeah, so drop me a ping, a message, and we carry on from there. Thank you for your time. This is Wendy from Seville, Singapore. Good night.